You remember the moment, not when it started, but the moment it changed. Someone said something, maybe sharp, maybe dismissive, maybe humiliating. And instead of arguing, instead of defending yourself, instead of fighting back, you went quiet. Not because you didn't have words, but because something inside you froze. Your chest tightened, your throat closed, your thoughts kept running, but none of them made it out. Later, when you replayed everything in your head, you wondered, why didn't I say anything? Why do I always shut down when it matters most? From the outside, silence looks passive. It looks weak. It looks like indifference. But silence is rarely empty. In psychology, moments like this are often connected to something called the freeze response. Most people know fight or flight, but freeze is different. Freeze happens when the nervous system detects threat, but doesn't believe fighting will help, and escaping isn't possible. So it chooses stillness. Not because you are incapable, but because your body is trying to protect you. For many people who go quiet when hurt, this response didn't start in adulthood. It started much earlier. In homes where speaking up led to punishment, in classrooms where vulnerability was mocked, in relationships where feelings were dismissed, in environments where honesty was unsafe. Over time, the nervous system learns a rule. Expression equals danger, so when conflict appears, the body reacts before the mind can intervene. Silence becomes automatic, protective, familiar, and strangely, logical. Because at some point in your life, being open cost you something. Maybe your feelings were minimized. Maybe your words were twisted. Maybe your reaction was called dramatic. Maybe you were told you were too sensitive. And slowly, without you realizing it, your system adapted. If speaking creates harm, silence reduces risk. This is what psychologists call emotional withdrawal, not detachment, not coldness, not lack of care, but containment. It's what happens when connection feels unpredictable, when closeness feels conditional, when vulnerability feels expensive. From the outside, it may look like you don't care, but inside, it's often the opposite. People who shut down when hurt usually feel deeply, too deeply. Their internal world doesn't go quiet, it gets louder. They replay conversations, they analyze tone, they question themselves. They imagine better responses hours later. The silence isn't emptiness, it's compression. Emotion held too tightly because releasing it once led to consequences. There's another layer here that many people misunderstand. Silence can feel safer than being misunderstood, because being misunderstood doesn't just distort your words, it distorts who you are. Your intention gets rewritten, your pain gets reframed, your reality gets questioned. And after enough of those experiences, a quiet calculation begins. If I speak, I risk being twisted. If I stay silent, at least I won't be misrepresented. So silence becomes control, a way to protect your inner world from being handled carelessly. But here's the paradox. Silence protects you from conflict, but it also protects you from connection. And this is where it starts to hurt in a different way. Because at first, going quiet feels powerful, it feels controlled, it feels dignified. You didn't yell, you didn't beg, you didn't expose yourself again. But later, in the quiet of your own space, you replay the moment. You think of the sentence you wish you had said, the boundary you wish you had set, the truth you swallowed, and something inside you feels unfinished. In adult relationships, this pattern becomes especially painful. A partner asks, "Why do you always shut down?" And you want to explain. You want to say, "I'm not shutting down. I'm overwhelmed." But your body's already elsewhere. Your chest tightens, your thoughts scatter, and instead of clarity, there's fog. So you say, "I'm fine," and the conversation ends. But nothing is resolved. Over time, this creates a quiet loneliness, not because you're alone, but because you're unseen. Conversations stay on the surface. Disagreements remain half-spoken. Needs go unexpressed. And slowly, resentment doesn't explode outward, it turns inward. You start questioning yourself. Maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe I'm difficult. Maybe it's better not to bring things up. And this is the hidden cost of silence. It keeps you safe in the moment, but it distances you in the long run. Not dramatically, not obviously, quietly. You begin to feel like a background character in your own relationships. Present, supportive, responsible, but not fully known. And the more this happens, the harder it becomes to break the pattern. Because silence becomes familiar, and familiar feels safe, even when it's lonely. By staying quiet, you avoid escalation, you avoid emotional exposure, you avoid explaining yourself again, but you also prevent yourself from being fully known. And over time, that trade becomes costly, because humans aren't built only for safety. We're built for connection. And when connection feels unsafe, the nervous system chooses protection. But protection long-term can become isolation. This is why people who shut down often seem inconsistent. One day warm and expressive, another day distant and unreachable. It isn't manipulation, it's capacity. Being emotionally open requires energy, requires safety, requires regulation. On good days, they have enough internal resources to stay engaged. But after tension, after subtle invalidation, after feeling exposed, their system retreats. Not to punish, not to create drama, to recover. Because staying open for someone who learned that openness is risky is exhausting. The problem is, others often misread this. They assume the silence is intentional rejection. They assume it means disinterest. They assume it means coldness. But most of the time, it means protection. And protection was learned. No one is born believing their voice doesn't matter. That belief forms slowly, through repeated outcomes. When expressing pain leads to dismissal, when honesty leads to criticism, when vulnerability leads to shame. Eventually, the body learns faster than the brain, and once that learning settles in, it feels natural, like this is just who you are. But shutting down is not your personality, it's a strategy. And strategies can change when safety changes. Healing doesn't begin by forcing yourself to speak louder. It doesn't begin by pushing through the freeze. It begins by understanding it, by recognizing that your silence once kept you safe, and maybe it still does in certain environments. The goal isn't to eliminate silence, it's to make it a choice, not a reflex. Because there's a difference between I am quiet because I want to be, and I am quiet because I am afraid. And awareness creates space, space to notice when you're safe, space to test expression gradually, space to speak in environments that feel steady. Safety is specific. It looks like being listened to without correction, being met with curiosity instead of defensiveness, being allowed to finish your sentence, being respected even when you disagree. And safety doesn't arrive dramatically. It builds in small moments. A conversation that doesn't escalate, a reaction that doesn't punish, a disagreement that doesn't destroy the bond. Over time, the nervous system updates. Expression no longer equals danger, and slowly words return. Not forced, not rehearsed, not defensive, but honest. If you recognize yourself in this, in the freezing, the retreat, the silence after being hurt, there's something important you should hear. You are not weak. You adapted. Your system learned how to survive emotionally unsafe environments. And survival is not failure, but survival strategies were never meant to be permanent prisons. They were meant to protect you until something safer appeared. And sometimes, the first step isn't speaking more. It's choosing where you deserve to speak at all. Because the question was never, why do you go quiet? The real question is, what did you learn would happen if you didn't? And once you understand that, silence stops looking like indifference and starts looking like intelligence under pressure. And maybe little by little, with the right people, in the right spaces, silence won't disappear. It will soften, and your voice, when it feels ready, will come back on its own.